What's up, everybody? It's the Hood Mystic, representing www.hoodmystic.com. Here today to discuss the new moon that's taking place in the constellation of Leo, and this is Sidereal astrology, Vedic astrology, taking place in the Sidereal of Leo, and there's an actual stellium here where there's a lot of energy in one particular area attached to the new moon. So this represents something, and through investigation, through study, I think I got a good grasp on what it may mean moving into the future. And so what I usually do with my channel is speak to the new moons and the full moons, and then the daily energy readings add support or build up or lead up to the actual new moon. So today, peace to everybody, by the way. Thank you guys for joining me. This is a very serious message based upon a deep understanding of it. And so whenever I have particular epiphanies, I love to share. And the issue with sharing particular epiphanies is that fear is that you may not articulate what you can understand mentally, but sometimes the words come out and people receive it differently. And so my goal and my hope with my content, with my channel, is to continue to come across clear, matter-of-factly, and guided, I would suppose. I don't want it to be, a me show. So I revert a lot of my content into study because I don't know everything, nor will I ever attempt to say that I know everything, but I will continue to learn daily. And so with this channel, we're just developing or speaking to a habit of just what does learning look like daily? Studying astrology, where we watch the news every day, check our Instagram every day, we check our social media every day, we check our bank account every day. So me personally, what I check every day is the natal placements, and in doing that, you get to find things that don't normally happen. Things like stelliums, things like, fire sign trines, and just powerful energy that you don't necessarily ever get to experience or get to see just by haphazardly looking at astrology. So throughout this study, we have talked about so many different astrological patterns, astrological is the word, designs or charts and chart styles, and learning triangles, grand trines. We've talked about all of those things, but never have we've talked about on this channel a new moon stellium. So this is a first for Hood Mystic. And so in preparing for this article, in preparing for this video, I didn't really focus on too much outside of it because I felt like this energy painted such a clear picture that I wanted to speak to how clear the picture, and then understanding that we're dealing with the new moon, we're dealing with intention. So in studying the base planets and the meaning of a stellium, the meaning of Leo, then on top of that, tying intention on top of it, like on top of a bow, putting it all together. So it's just an amazing picture that's being painted astrologically. So I just want to speak to it. So thank you guys for joining me. We are going to discuss personal planet, and the personal planets that fall in astrology, they're there, but they're never really together. even though they're close, they're never really together. So in understanding ourselves, we can feel ourselves, we can think about ourselves, we can imagine ourselves, but for it to be together, clustered like this is more personal power. And so when we speak of personal power, we reference confidence, we reference self-esteem, we reference mood. In these spaces, we have more control over our existence if we're in control of our mood, if we're fully confident, if we're fully aligned with our self-esteem. So in the energy of Leo, as I don't want to talk about too much, but as we talk about the trines to Uranus and Saturn, which reside in fire signs, we get to dissect or transpose the different varieties of fire signs. We have Aries, we have Leo, and we have Sagittarius, all being air signs, but a different variety. So when we reference Leo, Leo is fire, but it's a different type of fire than Aries, and a different type of fire than would be Sagittarius. So Aries would be kind of like the fire that you have with a lighter or two sticks rubbing together. It's creating a fire. It's in that birth stage of a fire. Leo is a full-on bonfire where you're not adding anything to it. Nothing's really happening, but it's still burning. It's a self-sustaining fire. So all that being said, when it comes to personal power, it is deriving your power from within. This is what Leo represents. So being personally aligned in all different directions, my sun, my moon, my Mercury, my Venus, my Mars, these are things that represent your personal power outside of just planets in the atmosphere or in the solar system rather. So in relative to the astronomy where they're being placed, there is an astrology of the understanding. And the understanding of the sun and the understanding of the sun is that energetic force that bursts forth through the womb, that rises every day. This is the sun. Who you are, who you represent. The moon is the opposite in astrology, not in astronomy. In astrology, the moon and the sun play opposites to one another. Analogies. You're receptive, your receptive modality. And since it falls in Leo, which is a masculine polarity, your reception has to be consciously activated. All of these things have to be consciously activated because they deeply relate to your confidence. As I was explaining this to my wife earlier, it's like it's a game. And in life, you are persistent in whatever you do. There is a positive polarity, an aggressive polarity, a conscious polarity that's forward moving. Then there's a negative polarity that is receptive, it receives, masculine, feminine. But for 99.9% of the population, they exist in this middle polarity that's neither receiving nor being persistent. It's just existing within the context of the society that it is in, and judging and basing its experiences on the society. So in order to move from this middle stagnation that most of us reside in, one has to consciously move to a polarity of their choosing as an intention, because this is not an end all be all. Nothing within the context of astrology is end all be all. It's just particular transits, particular placements, particular movements, particular highlights or snapshots of of the celestials. And then they have a direct representation, a direct relation to our inner world. So to deeply understand that, to deeply continuously work it out is not something that we could discuss in one day. It might be a whole lifetime worth of understanding, a whole lifetime worth of corresponding, taking notes, understanding, and just really developing the relationship between us and the celestial world for ourselves. So if we are having all of these personal planets rest within this particular placement of Leo, then it definitely indicates what action, what movements, what 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 polarity, what side are you working with within yourself? Because even more so, we deal with the stellium, and each planet assists us in different ways. So the sun being your aggressive, assertive modality, and the moon being your subconscious, receptive modality, Mercury assists us in a different way. It's still in the first degree or the first decan of Leo, where there is a fight which represents the 5 of Wands. Then there is a victory which represents the 6 of Wands, which rests in this, which rules the second decan of Leo. But the first decan of Leo is we need to come to a compromise, especially if we're going to be together, work together, spend time together. And after you make this compromise, you move into the 6 of Wands, you move into the second, or you don't make the compromise. So a lot of this energy it moves too fast, and it might lose you based upon attachment, based upon not connecting to your soul group, based upon you not following your heart. And so it's hard to get back on track. That's why I'm diligent and persistent with it. But even in the meantime of being diligent and persistent with it, all you have to do is begin to act in your best interest to get back on track. And so as I take a pause and I really think, like, it's a very difficult thing to be within yourself and deal with yourself. And this is the ego. This is Leo in a space that is very personal, very intimate, and can come across very awkward, can come across very aloof, can come across very disconnected. Because if the inner dialogue isn't correct, then the whole world begins to be incorrect, because the self-evaluation and the confidence and the effort that it takes to bring about a positive, strong, and healthy ego is very difficult. So even though that the Leo represents the elite individual, it represents the ego. It also represents hard work too, to get to a point where you can even feel yourself as a king, can even feel yourself as royalty, especially if you weren't born with it. You to cultivate your royalty, to cultivate your divinity, and then to express that divinity is a hard thing to do. But you have assistance with the personal planets, Mercury, Mars, and Venus. And Mercury still being in that first decan is that balance point that's going to say, am I accountable? Am I making the right choices within myself, or am I pointing fingers and fighting with people? Like I said earlier, this energy is quick to lose you, and nothing can lose you quicker than Mercury. Oh, you still want to fight with people? Fine, I'll move on. I'm not gonna play this game with you. If you want to understand, like, Mercury is like the character in American Gods, Odin or Mr. Wednesday. Like, he's not about to sit and argue with you, nor is he going to feel sorry for you. He's going to test you and always be like, "Oh, you want to play these games? Fine. Oh, but do you want to play the game? Do you want to succeed? All right, we're going to win." So, understanding Mercury, understanding yourself in relationships, if you still pointing fingers outside or you pointing fingers within, can really assist you. And this is just one energy. Mars assists you by being in the second decan, sitting at the 12th degree mark, right real close to the sun and moon, damn near conjunct the sun and moon exact. Talking about self-esteem yesterday. Self-esteem is Leo. It's a self-sustaining fire. It is a star. It's a state of becoming from from one position to another position, and you find it from within yourself. Now, this Leo is much different from any other constellation, any other any other being, because even when you look at the constellation and the star, is no mystery of what you're looking at. You like, damn, that looks like a lion up in the sky, so it's very pronounced, it's very real. When you travel back into ancient Egypt, one of the oldest things in that, beyond the pyramids and things like that, is the statue of the Sphinx. Very ancient landmark and significance to our spiritual development. So self-esteem has to be retrospective, but retrospection is very difficult if you have trauma in this world. Thus, this is the reason for trauma. This is the reason for unconsciously going through loops and cycles and pain and all of these different things that we go through. And then when you speak of, the Illuminati or the powers that be or the government, their job is to administer trauma to your ass, because that trauma is how they begin to, have power over the masses. If you can't, as an individual, as a human being, tap into your DNA, well, that's just too bad for you, because these are things that are very internal. If every man and every woman is a star, then we are self-sustaining beings. But if you can't get to that point because of trauma, then you can kind of understand the game that's being played. Because we're able to get past this is why overcoming trauma, this is why dealing with our shadow self, doing the shadow work becomes very important, because it allows you to look into your past without being triggered. Now I can look into my past and see multiple lifetimes. I can see battlefields. I can feel the times that I died and feel the times that I was born, and feel family members, feel lovers, feel places, feel the planet, feel the universe, feel the animals, feel nature, because I'm a spirit and I exist one with it. I'm not this body. My spirit animates this body. But when this body passes away, I become one again. This is self-esteem, right? It's not, am I the prettiest nigga on the block? Do I got the most money? Am I got the best career? Do I got the nicest Benz? If you listen to enough rap music, you can get into the idea that having a nice car, having a nice tattoos, and working out is how you develop self-esteem, as opposed to understanding nature, understanding the invisible spiritual realms, and then finding yourself in those spaces so you can come into this moment unified, soul and human. So when it comes to self-esteem and moving forward, it's very easy to access this energy. Venus, further along the path, still in Leo, still in the second decan, but at the 17th degree mark, speaks to companionship. Companionship, if you get into the etymology of companionship, it means to feed someone bread, to break bread. And it's not one person breaking bread and giving you some bread. It's both of us, or all three of us, or all four of us, or all 100 of us equally breaking bread and sharing it with our friends. This is a positive ego expression. This is positive in Leo. The negative, the blocks that I like to call it, is seeking praise. That's not companionship. That's not acceptance. That could turn into something very dark if that person begins to see you in a different light. That's a negative ego expression. It seems very wholesome until you disagree. Because the desire isn't companionship, it isn't breaking bread with you, it isn't to sustain you, it isn't to help you, it isn't to make your life feel better. It is simply there for them to be popular, or to have a better life, or be more comfortable, or take it a little bit more easier on themselves and use your energy. So companionship is very important within this stellium. It kind of caps it all off. And it helps us understand if we're self-sustaining ourselves externally, which is impossible, or we're self-sustaining ourselves internally, which is how stars work. That's how stars live. They self-sustain. They feed off of themselves. They feed off of their soul, their inner fire. So the inner fire and the outer fire become one within Leo, and there's more than enough energy that you could begin to ask these questions. Who are you? How do I feel? What do I need for love? What do I need from affection? What do I need from others? Am I angry? Do I have the tendency to be aggressive or unloving, ungiving, uncompromising? Am I hurt? All of these things relate to self-confidence, and all of these things are very intimate. Leos are very intimate. That's why they're not even trying to be intimate with you unless it's something of deep intimacy, because the relationship is so strong that once the outer relationship don't match, it's easy to be like, well, I can't go forward. I can't move forward. I can't even talk to you. It's fine if you don't want to talk. It's cool. Because I know that I'm ready for love, like in the Aries, you know? I'm ready for love. And I'm not hiding, from it, or lying to myself, or imagining that people don't have pain, or imagining that I'm gonna be in this situation and it's gonna be perfect because this person must be perfect because she is shaped a certain type of way. That's not even a reality. There has to be a psychological level to relationships and understanding one another, and you can't begin to move forward in healing and getting close in your relationships until you begin to heal the relationship with self. And you can't even condition yourself or be reflective of, oh, how that person feels about me matters if you're in the process of self-discovery. If you don't know who you are, then that's why they feel that way. If you don't know how you feel, then that's why they feel that way. If you don't even know what you need as love and what you need from people, from affection, like you don't even realize that you even want to be with a person because you're not with a person. So since you're not with a person, you create the narrative, well, I don't need nobody. That's like going against billions of years of hard wiring and tribal living and coming together with people and being one with your fellow brother and sister. But since you grew up in a society that's been administering trauma like Skittles, you feel as though that you can override the years of hard wiring and isolate yourself in your 2-bedroom apartment or studio apartment or big ass house. People be having big ass houses with nobody in them. Like, I'm sure that was the purpose of building this big ass house when it was built, for your ass is just sitting here by yourself. Like, cause that make perfect sense to me. So as I was explaining earlier, fire in the astrology, just like air, just like water, just like earth, presents itself in different modalities in different spaces depending on the constellation, and representing it symbolically in different chakras, different ways of perceiving it, you know. So when you're dealing with Leo, it's a particular fire, like I spoke to earlier, the self inducing fire. It represents the solar plexus. It is the fire that indicates purpose. And purpose, there has to be a level of trust with your actions if you're living in purpose. An example of purpose is writing books or writing a screenplay. The first page of your screenplay, unless you got a deal already signed, is based in purpose and trust, right? Is nothing there, but each page represents 60 seconds. You got to write a 30-minute screenplay, so you got to write 30 pages of content. But before you've written that 30 pages of content, you've trusted your purpose in coming up with the realization that I'm gonna write this screenplay. And that self-sustaining fire that sustains you through page 1 all the way to 30 represents Leo. Okay, that song that you wrote, that before you wrote it, you just had this drum pattern, or you just had this instrumental, and it was just this instrumental, and you had a melody, and then you attached words to it, and then you went to the studio. The whole time you had a self-sustaining fire that pushed you from writing a song, arranging it, cutting it, distributing it, telling your mama about it, telling everybody that you know, you gotta get on SoundCloud and listen to my song. Leo. Okay? Leo. If you ain't passionate about the shit that you doing, ego. Ego. Middle path shit, right? No trust. Confusion. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm alone. But it's okay to be alone because they've been passing out trauma like Skittles and everybody alone, so everybody can relate to me being alone. But I get into the spiritual and I'm waking up my DNA, and my DNA got billions and millions of years of tribal coming together with other individuals. But now I'm trying to deal with the reality that I'm supposed to be alone, right? Because I've told myself I'm unlovable. I done told myself I'm unattractive. I'm shy as hell, right? I break down as soon as somebody say hi to me, right? I can't handle conversation. I'm 48 now. You know, and this is real shit. See, and this is so personal and so intimate that relationships, right? So relationships, the same thing applies. First meet somebody, you don't know them all like that, you get real freaky, real passionate. Start imagining your future with this person, you know. Then you start to know them. Things start to change. But what sustained that love, what kept that love together, is that passion. So passion at the beginning should be passion at the middle, should be passion at the end. Where we get caught up in is that passion etymologically means suffering. It means suffering. But if you keep it at suffering and take suffering and get deeper into suffering, you get into the Vedic understanding of suffering, that suffering leads to awakening. So if I don't suffer, then I don't awaken. If my heart isn't broken, it can't be healed. If I didn't experience bad things, then I wouldn't necessarily know what the fuck a good thing ever was, because I was immersed in good and didn't even recognize it. So in order for me to even recognize my good, I have to experience a bad. Now, where human beings get stuck at is the bad is all encapsulating, all encompassing, psychically protected fortress around your goddamn soul, right? You can't move nowhere because you done suffered, been hurt before in the past. So anybody who ever spoke to healing you or making your life better, they done been through shit too, probably worse shit than you. So we got to get over that. And in Leo, right? You got to get over it intimately, personally. Forget what you tell me, forget what you tell your husband, forget what you tell your wife. You're not being real with yourself. So in the space of intention, that's why it's best not to have no intentions, because you're not factoring in the billions of years of DNA swimming through your bloodstream right now, just dying to be activated. They just want you to take a deep breath and you'll be connected to Queen Bathsheba like that. Y'all be shallow breathing now. Like you ain't even took a deep breath in years. You feel me? You ain't even sat with yourself and said, let me stop thinking for a minute or two. So this DNA begging to be awakened, but it needs your engagement. So a self-sustaining fire needs to first be lit and then understood, like, yo, this is how we gonna move. We gonna move through self-sustainment. We're gonna exist through self-sustainment. And this begins to be a vehicle, because as this fire builds, right, from self-sustainment, it don't just chill, right? What do fire do? It move, it devour, it takes what it wants. It goes forward, and this is Sagittarius. But it had to suffer, it had to be little, it had to understand. You know how many times that fire done died out? That fire done died out more than enough, and then it had to get built back up. So even in this space, if you look at it from a particular vantage point, you have Uranus awakening. That it's like one of those MacGyver things, right? It's like one of those trick. Hey, no. It's like one of those trick things, like one of those setups. So Uranus is MacGyver in a space, and Uranus is doing the setup. You don't even know what's about to happen, but the music start to playing and MacGyver gets to working. You feel me? He start doing some other shit, and you like, okay, MacGyver. He always do it. About 10 minutes left on the episode, that music start playing. Oh, it's time to go. What's happening? And if y'all not hip to MacGyver, then you way too young for me. You way too young for this channel. So moving into it, this new moon being in Leo, that's the actual plan coming into action. Bad guy walk into the room, flick the light on, whoosh, whole thing come in, the police come, arrest the bad guy or whatever the case may be. And then at the end of it, Sagittarius, Saturn and Sagittarius, MacGyver just walking off like, I'm out here. Like, y'all know me. I do this shit every episode. I'll tell me a problem. I'm going to come up with something, and it's going to blow your mind. And this is fire. This is alchemy. This is chakra work. This is, everything. You gotta have a problem though. Gotta be cold to want to have fire, and then from that fire you have a whole life journey. But it don't come from perfection. Even though it does come from perfection, that perfection becomes a block. Because if you can't recognize perfection, then what's the point of it? So this whole journey, this whole understanding, it can really, really make sense if you really, really do the work. And it ain't about the groups that you about. It ain't about the readings that you get. It ain't even about the shit that you say on your social media, how many friends you got, and all of that shit. Very intimate, very self-sustaining, very, very personal. So, Six of Wands. The Six of Wands is a smart fire. Very smart, very intelligent fire. Even on the in the Thoth Tarot deck, you got the little lamps burning in the little crescents. Wand, self-sustaining lights. It's like, walking into a cave and seeing those little lamps everywhere you go, helping you. Using the fire smart. Now, another way that fire could be used smart is through fireworks, and it's very, mesmerizing and beautiful. But when it's over, it's over. So Saturn speaks to, you need to self-sustain this fire to get to where I'm at, because I'm like, it's OG wisdom. Like, you got places to go. Don't be focused on fireworks. Don't be focused on this big display, this popularity contest, because even if you get it, you can't pay the rent with it. You feel me? So um this is the voodoo, New Orleans voodoo pro deck. The six of, oh, I opened straight to the page. The Six of Wands in the Voodoo Tarot deck is Legba Le Flambeau. And he is the new sun, unfurls himself in the heavens, brilliant beyond description. He reveals in first powers, unweighted by knowledge of future consequence. His radiance stretches like a banner between the visible and invisible worlds. One more paragraph. As this Legba dances at the crossroad, he dance speaks eloquently of the joy of creation. Here is a coming forth in victory. The gray hair and elderly visage of this Legba are emblems of his rank and show that even a new sun is the product of spiritual processes old beyond telling. Fire is will, and the fiery will of Legba deeply penetrates in six directions. So in the Rider Waite deck, it's a man wearing a victory wreath with a victory wreath on his wand, and then there's a crowd. That crowd is people and their opinions, but the man on the horse carrying the wand is not looking down at the people like, hey, how do y'all feel about me right now? Do I look good? Am I sexy? Is my horse good enough? You think this wand is long enough? What about this wreath? Is it flashy enough? Is it green enough? Do it got enough berries on it? I don't know. I'm not that confident in myself right now, crowd. He's not doing that. He's riding in the space of confidence, in the space of victory, amidst the crowd. So, can't control how people feel about you. All you can do is work on your confidence, esteem, and refine your mood. That's all you can really do. But since there's so much energy residing in the masculine polarity, the opposite has to be the reception of people around you is very empty and very suggestible to assertion. Who's going to take charge? Who's going to lead? Who's going to aid? And if you have this particular idea, there is great success and victory for you. Easier said than done. Easier said than done. So, because within this context, there is a level of dumbing down the sentence. So the Six of Wands is past the Five of Wands. And the Five of Wands speaks to strife, which can only exist within the realms of the senses, mainly the eyes, the mouth, and the ears. These things being real to you. Can't move to the Six of Wands. You can't move to the sixth sense or victory, still being in the space of five. So inevitably, five turns to six. Because 5 and 6 could represent the same number. The only difference between 5 and 6 is a sign or a symbol. Because 2 and 3 equals 5, but 2 and 3 also equals 6. Just what you tend to want to do with the numbers or the symbols. So, in that understanding, 5 and 6 are very closely related. If you want to add, then you'll stay in the level of senses. But if you intend to multiply and intend to grow, then you deal with the level of the spiritual. You ascend to the 7 and 8, 9. You can go further once you accept the sixth sense. If you stay within the five senses, all of the fives in tarot represent something negative based upon your senses. So also attached to these cards, you see the winged eye of Horus, which represents clarity of vision, but not simple clarity. It's like you've received this wreath because of the work that you've done. And based upon the work you've done and based upon the horse that you sit on or based upon your role of leadership, you don't just get granted leadership. You have a better vision or a clearer vision than people around you. So it's a lot of celebration. There's a lot of awards to be received. There's a lot of things to happen. So imagine this. This is how I view this new moon in Leo, if I'm gonna finish up. It's like it's like a big trophy room, right? And filled with trophies, filled with awards, filled with benefits, filled with harvests, filled with success, filled with finances. It just needs people to go get it. If you are in your persistent, assertive mode of getting what you want and then directing it towards purpose, directing it towards truth, and being persistent about that, you get access to the trophy room. Now, in that space, getting access to the trophy room, there are going to be a majority of people who do not get access based upon them not exercising their masculine, assertive polarity. And that's something that you got to live with. You shouldn't let that be the reason for you not to move forward based upon people not moving forward. So in this space, you have people around you that want to pledge and be confused and stay in the middle path and be caught up on their past and be caught up on their trauma and create that psychic shield around them. That's why it's important to understand things at multiple levels as opposed to just dealing with the spirituality and thinking that, just being spiritual is going to save you, or just looking at astrology by studying my chart that's going to save me. You have to begin to look at mind control and advertisement and what are we doing with our time, where are we just kind of just mindlessly giving our subconscious mind away and then trying to factor in our mental health and our mental stability if we've been mindlessly controlled for however many years. So coming into our own mind, taking control of our own lives breeds a new set of problems, course of understanding, That's why this channel is here. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. Really do appreciate your support. Patreon subscribers, people who give regular donations, people who buy clothing, people who support my wife. It's just something that we do out of being all that we have, you know. We don't spend our time, we're trying to raise our children and be self-sustaining, right? My son is in Leo, my wife's moon is in Leo, so that's a beautiful picture that our sun's and moon conjunct at that level. And so this is why we have multiple things that we try to do to stimulate our lives. You know, if we don't do these things, then like the rent wouldn't get paid, or you know, wouldn't we would be really in tough situations. And so when it comes to purpose and when it comes to trust, we do, well, we do our thing, you know, whether my wife is doing her thing with the children or making products, or whether I'm writing a book or working on a video, or you know, working on content or learning things. We're not doing it because it's cool. We're doing it because we feel that everything that we do, we're making a difference. We're helping people get closer to their spirituality, and there's no real reward to it other than you know, the action of the work that we do, because it's not like, you know, Fortune 500 either, you know what I'm saying? It's like, you know, it's not like, it's good and bad, you know, but we neutralize the good and bad by focusing on our purpose and trusting in our purpose and knowing that things tend to work in our favor at some point, even when things don't seem to be working in our favor at particular points. It's just one of those things. You just give up on lifestyle and just really submit to your present surroundings and present circumstances, and that could be a beautiful thing and that could be a scary thing. And another reason why I study and do the work that I do is because in the midst of my worry, in the midst of my fear, I understand astrology at a deeper level and understand me and my wife. Like everything that I'm speaking is everything that I've learned and am applying in the midst of, you know, not favorable time for me, or, you know, feeling like, you know, everything is great right now. You know, I can't really say that, but I can say that things are looking up and things are improving and different things are going to happen. And, you know, based upon the astrology and continuously working and understanding the astrology and the psychology and the spirituality and what's needed to be done, yeah, it's gonna be all right. So I don't imagine that everybody is in a space where everything is perfect. I imagine that internally, regardless of how people view you or how people feel about you, that internally those issues are like on red alert, you know, like they're buzzing out of control. And what is happening is that falling short of controlling your life, it's like not closing the store when you have to close the store and not even opening it because you thinking about something else, and then people coming in and robbing your store. You gonna blame the robbers for robbing your store, or you gonna realize that it's your responsibility to take care or take control of different aspects in your life? And taking control of those things are very difficult because they're very internal. And not to say that people can't help you, but you so fake that you don't even tell people about the real shit. You've been in marriages, in and out of marriages, all in types of different things, and never been real with yourself and real with them. about everything, about truth and purpose. And this would make me happy, all of these types of things, that we just suck it up, stay on this middle fledgling path, and deal with the consequences. In this work, I'm trying to get us out of something, out of this purgatory, out of this mind control, out of this illusion, into truth. That long conversation I don't have the energy to do right now. So thank you guys for tuning in, comments, and just the support that this channel gets, and confidence and self-esteem that it allows me to have. I can only be grateful, and it's not for all the praise, it's for the backlash and the negative things that are said too, because those things are necessary for truth and criticism and real growth, to be able to take it, learn from it, and not just seek praise and seek for people to like me all the time. So thank you guys for tuning in. Be sure to like this video. You're watching it, it's interesting to you, you like it. It helps with bringing more people in, sharing Instagram stories, little parts that you liked and stuff like that. Little things turn into big things. And so really appreciate everybody for helping, for my family, your family. Hope you guys have a wonderful week. And you want to say hi? Oh, look at him. Say hi. Say hi. Hey, you good? You good? Yeah. Feel better now? Peace, y'all. Y'all have a good